Thank you to War Thunder for sponsoring this video. I can't think of a more forced friendship than the one RuneScape has with its bots. The game's been trying to end it for years, only to eventually accept their existence with a collective sigh every time we stumble upon one. It's the classic Simpsons routine of throwing Barney out of the bar, only for him to reappear before the door even shuts. The good news for RuneScape 3 is that the plague has mostly moved on. Sure, it's because the game is less popular, but I like to think of it as an equal trade between games, each our version of problems. Old School has the bots and RuneScape 3 has the predatory loot boxes. And now that Treasure Hunter has finally been removed, the comparison has evolved to bots versus the game not looking like Old School. A truly balanced battle. There's never been an accurate claim of how many bots actually populate RuneScape. ModMattK suggested a fairly conservative estimate of 5 to 10% of the player base at any given time, but that estimate was 9 years ago and miles away from the loose 60% claim in 2011 or Solo Mission's 44% estimate in 2025. And even then, they don't account for RuneScape 3, which, even if they don't have all that many bots, still banned 5 million of them in 2017 and 18, and I don't think ModMattK's estimate accounted for those. While it's likely impossible to find an accurate analysis of the amount of bots in the game, Jagex has published bot numbers a variety of times throughout the past 25 years, allowing us to pile the numbers up and estimate the minimum number of bots that ever entered RuneScape. We have to compare 25 years of account creation against actual confirmed bans, but also make some necessary estimates based on RuneScape's history with this war. We need to see how the curve shifts, and what percentage of accounts were never actually alive. And that starts with research. The population of bots has always been a reflection of the game's success, shifting in perfect sync with the demand for gold and XP amongst its rule-breaking players. It's a simple equation. The more popular the game, the more bots appear. From a distance, this has always been a battle between a cat and mouse, and for each turn they took, the mouse always won. In the early days, there was no automated system that could detect robotic behavior. Any form of rule-breaking had to be personally witnessed by a Jagex moderator, which was impossible to do around the clock. Instead, they developed manual distractions, shifting the camera slightly, requiring a captcha, or random events yoinking the bot away. The mouse adapted, teaching their scripts to get back on track and log out the second a gold crown appeared with virtual handcuffs. In the game's earliest era, Jagex took pride in their banning. In 2002, they announced 2,400 bans, a small dent in comparison to the 1 million accounts they celebrated that December, but to the company it was a declaration of war. Jagex didn't post articles for banning a single bot. They made articles whenever they wanted to prove a victory. These were written warnings, a number meant to impress the players and terrify the bots. Jagex's confidence didn't hold up for very long. In 2006, they'd brag about how easy the bots were to detect, but being able to tell apart a bot from a player didn't matter when Jagex were outnumbered. In December 2007, they described the problem as a Hydra's head. Banning one bot spawned 2 more. At the start of the year, they claimed 8,000 bans a week. By the end of it, that had increased to tens of thousands, admitting defeat and removing free trade as a result of it. Based on these numbers, we can estimate that Jagex banned about 836,000 bots in 2007, an estimate that holds up when you compare it to the 9 million active accounts at the time, where 1 million were members, next to the confirmation that the vast majority of them were legitimate players. A big number, but Jagex's war against the bots had just begun. As a RuneScape historian, if there ever was a different game I'd love to do a video about, it'd be today's sponsor, War Thunder. Seriously, have you heard the stories about War Thunder players leaking classified military information to win arguments about tanks and planes? It's a community that takes the game really seriously. War Thunder is the most comprehensive vehicle combat game ever made, and it's free on PC, PlayStation, Xbox, and mobile. You can control over 2,500 tanks, planes, helicopters, and ships from 10 major nations all the way from the 1920s to the present day. The game features incredibly detailed vehicles which, combined with realistic graphics and sound effects, immerse you in intense combat. My favorite part is how accurate the gameplay is, meaning not only are the weapons and engines modeled to recreate their real-life counterparts, but you can use their insane damage X-ray view to know exactly where the shell was penetrated, meaning how you play truly matters. If you're either new or haven't played for 6 months, the team behind this amazing game wants to give PC and console users a massive bonus pack, including the exclusive vehicle decorator Eagle of Valor, 100,000 Silver Lions, and 7 days of premium account. It's free and available at a limited time, so make sure to join a community of over 95 million players and check out the description or the pinned comment on this video. Thanks to War Thunder for the sponsorship. Let's get back to counting bots. The social era was a textbook definition of contradiction. On one hand, Jagex said the removal of free trade had led to the lowest bot numbers in history. On the other hand, the game was so visibly infested that players gave up fighting their robotic brethren and turned to including them in their gameplay strategies. I remember the Soul Wars golden days in 2010. The lobbies were so bot-ridden that the community learned to herd them like sheep into pens to rig minigame victories. Over at the Living Rock Caverns, they became bodyguards for low-level players who bet on the high probability that the mineral creatures would attack a script-running meat shield before any legitimate player. Of course, nobody wanted the bots there, but given the reality of the situation, the players had no choice but to adapt. Jagex ignored the problem until free trade was set to return in early 2011. They revealed to everyone's surprise that they couldn't catch them all, adding that the problem was likely to get worse once the bots could freely trade legitimate gold again. As a response to the community's concerns, they launched the infamous bot nuke in October that year. It was an extinction that put their entire history of moderation to shame, cleansing a staggering 9.2 million accounts in a single week.
All of the other years combined, all of the other RuneScape years from day one doesn't even compare to that number.
At RuneFest 2011, Jagex essentially confirmed that, for the past decade, their anti-cheating measures was a version of David and Goliath where Goliath was winning. Finally defeating the opponent wasn't without scars. The nuke was a devastating hit to the company's revenue, so their budget of banning member accounts had hit the maximum limit. Going forward, nobody was allowed to ban any paying player.
There was a sort of hiatus on banning players. We weren't allowed to ban anyone. Nobody was banned for anything unless it was like fraud or they were a gold farmer. So you could macro your 2 lives content, you weren't going to get banned.
Despite Jagex's historical bot eradication, true to their nature, bots found ways to get around the nuke mechanics only weeks after it launched. As RuneScape received its own multiverse of madness, Jagex's war against bots was akin to a parent with a favorite child. While it was never confirmed, the data suggests RuneScape 3 was left in the hands of an automated eye in the sky, while the human touch was reserved for Old School. Old School was gifted RuneScape 3's Plague Doctor, an anti-cheating specialist by the name of Mod Weth. He announced his consistent purges on social media for players to rejoice and celebrate, ending 2016 with an estimated 2 million bots banned. In the meantime, RuneScape 3 only saw JMods talk about botting when it was to apologize for banning legitimate players. Back in 2012, Jagex made the controversial decision to hire a botting kingpin, Mod Jackmob, to dismantle the very industry that had made him a millionaire. The result was Botwatch, internally called PlayerWatch, a name deemed a little too daunting for public comfort. The system functioned like a specialized keylogger, tracking a player's mouse movements, looking for the human signature. Messy overcompensation, the slight drifts, and the inevitable distraction by going away from the client. A machine, however, is consistently perfect. Ironically, this meant there was a mathematical possibility of making a mistake, which happened in 2014 when 3 players were banned for playing so perfectly that neither the system nor a Jagex employee could tell apart human efficiency from a robotic routine. Jagex's apology letter carried a sense of being impressed. The system's debut in 2012 came with an even larger mistake, when it was launched with an accidental switch set to trigger on patterns that were distinctly not robotic, resulting in 40,000 players being wiped in a minute. The first to notice were Jagex's own managers, who sounded the alarm after being kicked off their personal accounts during office hours. But despite these stories and what looked like a mostly accurate and active detection tool, an anomaly in 2017 alludes to something different. In October that year, Jagex began publishing their ban totals on the website, starting off with an impressive 3 million bans in just 3 months, totaling 5.3 million after the next year and a half. This was a number so massive it outperformed Old School by 70,000 accounts, a figure that, on paper, made no sense. One thing is that the amount of customers simply don't align with the demand. Keep in mind, Old School had already surpassed RuneScape 3's player count several years prior. For there to be more bots in RS3 over Old School, the game would have to have a higher or equal demand of gold versus a game where gold is much harder to obtain and contains twice the amount of players. And even if this was the case and Jagex banned 5.3 million of them, why didn't the in-game player counter budge at all? Unless, of course, those 5 million weren't representative of this period. Perhaps Jagex had been hunting their prey for longer than they let on, quietly compiling a list during the years where banning was bad for business, only to wipe them out when the revenue allowed it. Jagex provided the data for much of the modern era, but the years between 2020 through 2022 takes form through scattered tweets by the anti-cheating team. We have fragments from Mod Trident and Twisted, and a monolithic figure from Mod Tyran. 12 million offenses dating back to his start in 2013. On its own, that 12 million is a mix of everything from permanent bans to temporary mutes. Taken it at face value wouldn't be anywhere near accurate. To get some value from this, I've distributed those offenses equally across Tyrant's entire tenure, only keeping 1 year to represent an estimate of Tyrant spans. The number is likely higher, but given how it compares to the official numbers on either side, I hope my estimate will be closer to reality than not. After all this, we remain with our conclusion. At least 50.6 million accounts have received a ban for botting since RuneScape's release in 2001. When you weigh that against the game's projected 381.5 million registered accounts, the reality sets in. At a minimum, 13.3% of every account ever created was never a real person. Just above 1 in 8. It's a big number, and I get that I don't show every single detail in this video, but if you want to cross-check my sources, I've added a link to the spreadsheet in the video description. The final tally doesn't necessarily account for repeat offenders, even if we didn't include the 106,000 temporary bans marked in the official stats. But even if the numbers included one account over multiple bans, the resulting impact on the game is strictly the same. A bot banned in 2017 and again in 2019 would still be botting in 2 different periods of the game. On average, whenever you played RuneScape, every 8th player you met would be banned for botting. But that's 25 years. How does that compare to today? Honing in on Old School's Platinum Age, the past 3 years and 4 months show 20.2 million bans across an estimated 51 million registered accounts, totaling at minimum a 39.6% ban rate. By Jagex's own certified ban numbers and account registration estimates based on their own reporting, for every 5th account made, 2 of them will be bots. Solo Mission's headcount was surprisingly accurate, and it represents a universal truth. In old-school RuneScape, bots are everywhere. Farming gold, PKing in the wilderness, or trolling in social hotspots. As players, your alternatives are ignoring them and that's it. Jagex, while clearly playing whack-a-mole with a full team of anti-cheating experts, claims this plague is fueled by the same tool that 70% of the players can't play without: RuneLight, a metaphorical deal with the devil. In RuneScape 3, the bots are far fewer in numbers, trained to be more elusive to hide their bot farms. Here, they hide in the quiet corners nobody visits, like classic-only servers and the role-playing world. They're programmed to wipe themselves out the second a player enters the frame. This particular farm had 145 accounts all log out simultaneously across 4 servers when I showed up to say hello. 25 years on, the war against bots will likely never be won. It's a permanent part of the game, a battle Jagex will continue fighting for the lifespan of it. So keep in mind whenever you venture the world of RuneScape in 2026, celebrating the success of the game brand. 2 of 5 accounts aren't actually human. Once again, thank you to War Thunder for sponsoring this video. Make sure to check it out for free on PC, PlayStation, Xbox or mobile, using my links in the description or pinned comment. Those of you who are new or haven't played in 6 months will get a massive bonus pack on PC and consoles, including a premium account and other goodies. Until next time, see you all then.